Not answering the question.
Is not a public figure.
Nor is
she has
nor
no.
is Ruby Freeman or
She
Shane
has,
Moss.
she has no ability.
To be honest, you are not answering the question. You are avoiding the question again, Scott Jennings. You continuously distracted, avoid that.
You have, by the way, at home, you have no idea how loud this is.
But Scott, listen.
You have no idea how dishonest you are.
It has nothing to do with Natalie. She is being a defenseless woman.
First of all, I'm not going to do
just to be clear, hold on a second.
What do you think, Lydia?
Hold on a second.
You're a Republican or conservative woman?
Just to be clear.
What do you think? You were asked a question.
Hold on a second, Keith. Just to be clear.
In today's video, Abby Phillip destroys Scott Jennings on NewsNight with Abby Phillip as Abby Phillip and Scott Jennings clash over sexism, political attacks, and Donald Trump's treatment of women. Abby Phillip challenges the double standards surrounding personal attacks in politics and puts Scott Jennings' defense under serious pressure. So let's dive in and watch how Abby Phillip shuts down Scott Jennings on NewsNight with Abby Phillip.
I'm happy for someone to say, look, I think it was inappropriate, I think it was sexist, but you better also be saying that about Donald Trump if I'm even going to take you seriously.
Scott?
I expect Ossoff to criticize Donald Trump. I expect every Democrat running for president to criticize Donald Trump. What I thought was appalling about this is that Harp is not a public figure. She's not a household name. Nobody knows who she is. And when he injected her into this, he knew what he was doing, which is punching down on someone who's effectively defenseless.
Doesn't Donald Trump do that all the time?
All the time.
I mean,
what do you mean? He's doing it right now while we're here. Guys, there's no stop. There's no rules. There are no rules anymore. Donald Trump broke all of those.
Are you defending
Rob Reiner dies. Rob Reiner dies. Donald Trump cheers his death. There are no rules anymore.
Robert Mueller dies.
Okay.
He defends his death.
Hold on. There are no rules anymore. You might not like it. Donald Trump is the king of trolls. What I find amazing is that the best trolls can't take incoming. I don't care who they are.
Is she a troll?
But they can't. No, but Trump is. Okay,
I know, but he didn't insult Trump. He insulted a female who can't defend herself.
She's a White House staff.
She's not a troll.
She's a White House staff
member. The right
member.
cannot take any incoming.
Here's the deal. It's not the right, and it's not Trump. It's a single defenseless woman.
She's not defenseless. She's not defenseless.
What about Ruby Freeman and Shane Moss?
Caitlin Collins asks a real question, and Trump demeans her every single solitary day.
Let me go ahead and just play it, because there's just such a long history of this. Trump punching down, insulting women. Let's just play it.
Scott never complaining about it.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund.
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. You know, she's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile on your face.
Well, I'm asking you about survivors of Jeffrey Epstein.
You know what?
Is there something incriminating in the file,
Quiet.
Unbelievable.
Quiet, Piggy. I mean, Scott.
Excuse me, sir.
Dan's question was pretty straightforward. If you're going to be outraged over traveling on a plane with Natalie, are you going to be outraged over all those things?
What makes this interesting is the bigger issue of consistency in political criticism. If we're going to establish standards for how public figures talk about women, those standards shouldn't suddenly disappear depending on which politician is being discussed. Donald Trump's public record provides plenty of examples that go far beyond ordinary political criticism. He has repeatedly commented on women's appearance, intelligence, competence, and credibility in ways that have drawn criticism from across the political spectrum. That history matters because political rhetoric doesn't exist in a vacuum. When leaders normalize personal attacks, it lowers the standard for everyone else. There's also a legitimate distinction between criticizing a powerful politician and targeting someone who isn't actually running for office. Politicians voluntarily enter the arena and should expect intense scrutiny. A private aide or staffer doesn't necessarily have the same ability to respond or defend herself publicly. That doesn't mean she should be completely off limits, but it does mean commentators should think carefully about whether she's actually relevant to the policy argument. And that's where political coverage can become frustrating. Americans are dealing with housing costs, healthcare expenses, wages, inflation, and concerns about government spending. Those are measurable issues that directly affect people's lives. Arguments about who sits beside whom on a plane can generate headlines, but they don't answer those questions. The broader lesson is simple. Hold politicians accountable for their policies and behavior, but apply the same standards regardless of party. If personal attacks against women are unacceptable, they should remain unacceptable, whether they come from Democrats, Republicans, presidents, senators, or commentators. That consistency is what makes criticism credible.
I do not believe in demeaning women in any way, number one. Number two,
So
did
the president demean women, and was that unacceptable?
The issue I have with this is...
Are you outraged or not about that?
The issue I have with this is...
Not answering the question.
Natalie Harp
Not answering the question.
is not a public figure.
Nor is Ruby Freeman or Shane Moss.
She has no ability
to be honest,
you are not answering the question. You are avoiding the question again, Scott Jennings. You continuously distracted, avoid that.
By the way, at home, you have no idea how loud this is.
But Scott, listen.
You have no idea how dishonest you are.
It has nothing to do with Natalie. She is being a defenseless woman.
If you want to defend her to the mic, go ahead, but I'm not going to do it.
Just to be clear, hold on a second.
What do you think, Lydia?
Hold on a second.
You're a Republican or conservative woman?
Just to be clear.
What do you think? You were asked a question.
Hold on a second,
Keith.
Just to be clear, I think the idea of continually describing a 35-year-old woman as somebody who has no agency and is defenseless and is just a victim, that is kind of demeaning to begin with. But the second thing is, Scott, you are so concerned about that, but you have not expressed any concern over Trump's repeated demeaning of all kinds of other women who are just simply doing their jobs.
Including our host. He attacked our host here.
I'm disappointed you don't remember this, but during the president's first term, you actually got into it with him on the South Lawn, and we did a show together, and I said, I don't think that's good.
Okay,
he shouldn't talk to you that way.
Because you have
and you don't remember. But the bottom line is, the fact that you won't defend Harp here is
what about all these different examples? You are so good at turning the subject away from the reality of what she just said, Scott.
It's now even more decibels than it was.
I know you're playing to your audience here, but Scott, you're still
personal space. Personal space.
Hold on, Scott. You easily could have said. You easily could have said in this very same way that I denounce what Jon Ossoff said. I also denounce all the things that Donald Trump has said. You didn't say that tonight, even when you were asked.
I don't believe in demeaning women. I will say
that you are not holding him to the same standard that you hold Jon Ossoff. You have a lot to say about Jon Ossoff and very little to say about Donald Trump.
Because he drug a defenseless
of women.
What about
government servant through the mud, and he deserves it.
He deserves it. The president of the United States does that on a regular basis to women.
So she deserves
government workers, and Donald Trump attacked them. What did you say about that, Scott?
Does she deserve it?
What did you say about that, Scott?
Okay, nobody is saying that, first of all, that she deserves anything.
You seem to be defending
it. The only thing that we are saying is that if you're going to be mad at Jon Ossoff over saying the president likes to travel with her, you should be mad about the president calling a reporter doing her job piggy.
Be consistent, Scott.
That's a pretty simple thing. Not controversial. It's pretty simple.
Scott.
It's what it takes to be a Democrat. Drag defenseless women through the mud.
You're not the victim here, Scott.
Drag defenseless women through the mud.
You are not the victim here. You are the perpetrator of Donald Trump's fraud on the American people. So
all right. I don't know why we have to insist on
defend him every time.
I don't know why we have to insist on describing Natalie, again, a 35-year-old woman. She's a government employee. As a defenseless
she has no microphone.
Woman.
Nor did Ruby Freeman or Shane Moss.
She, like everybody else,
is
doing their job, doesn't deserve
That's
to
a
be
pretty
attacked.
big microphone.
What stands out here is the double standard. Criticizing a public official's conduct is fair, but political commentary loses credibility when the same standard suddenly disappears depending on who is being discussed. If the concern is that a relatively unknown government employee is being dragged into the spotlight, then the obvious question is why that concern seems so selective. There's a broader pattern worth remembering. Donald Trump has spent decades making public comments about women's appearances, intelligence, weight, and personalities, including women whose only role was doing their jobs as reporters or public officials. That history matters because political accountability cannot be applied only when it is convenient. You can criticize Jon Ossoff's wording without pretending Trump's record doesn't exist. And there's another important distinction. Saying someone's comments were inappropriate is not the same as claiming that the person being discussed has no agency. Government employees can be criticized, defended, or disagreed with without turning them into political symbols. The real issue should be whether the criticism is fair and everyone is being judged by the same rules. That's why the bigger problem isn't one comment or one political party. It's the normalization of personal attacks in American politics. When insults become routine, supporters start treating them as harmless entertainment, while legitimate criticism gets dismissed as partisan outrage. A consistent standard would be simple: condemn sexist or demeaning comments regardless of who makes them, whether it's a Democratic candidate, a Republican president, or anyone else. That standard would make political debate a lot more honest and a lot less performative.
If I got a list, Jared, of every female who worked in your office and read their first names and said, gee whiz, Jared, why are you spending so much time with that lady? You'd be pissed right now.
Scott, let me hold on.
You'd be pissed.
Hold on. Do I think what happened with the Natalie thing, is that how we should talk? No, I don't think that's how politics should be. But what you should understand is we talk like that now because of Trump.
Donald Trump. Thank you. Case closed. End of story.
Do you disagree with that?
Look.
No, and the American people know it.
I believe you shouldn't demean women, and I don't think defenseless women in politics should be drugged through the mud.
Unless Donald Trump does it. Be consistent, Scott Jennings. The American people see your inconsistency.
All right. Listen, I mean, President Trump, I think...
Not a negative word for Ossoff? What do you think?
Well, why are you trying to change the subject?
Listen, I'm curious.
Why do you not criticize Donald Trump?
Honestly, Scott, I think that if your position is that he was making an innuendo, I don't think it's good to make innuendo. But I also think it is worse to actually use insults to call women stupid, to call them piggy, to say that they are fat, whatever it is. Those things, actual, straight up, direct insults at professional women doing their jobs, I think most people think that's actually worse.
I think it's, look, I said I don't believe in demeaning women. I don't know what your problem is. Didn't you work for Bill Clinton? I mean, my God, we know how Democrats treat women in the workplace.
And do I defend Bill Clinton?
Honestly.
I have not defended him. You sit up. Scott Jennings is the master of deflection, the American people. He changed the subject here from Donald Trump to Bill Clinton because he doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump. He doesn't want to.
It was pretty bad.
He doesn't want to criticize his boss.
It's how Democrats think of women in politics.
Clinton, he's so good at changing the subject.
How they view women in politics.
But he will not criticize his good friend, Donald Trump.
Jon Ossoff has really done a great job of getting a lot of attention this week and stirring things up at the White House. And that's one of the. Well, look, I mean. In Donald Trump's world, it kind of is a little bit of a standard.
Well, then he's right about Donald Trump then, too.
What makes this interesting is how quickly political accountability can turn into a game of comparison instead of consistency. If a politician's comment about a woman is considered inappropriate, that standard should apply regardless of party. But bringing up unrelated scandals from decades ago doesn't answer the question about what is happening right now. There's also a real difference between an awkward political joke and a repeated pattern of publicly attacking women for their appearance, intelligence, or professionalism. Donald Trump has a long documented history of doing the latter, including targeting female journalists who were simply asking him questions. That doesn't make every criticism of Trump automatically correct, but it does make consistency important when discussing political rhetoric. And this matters because political language doesn't stay confined to television panels. When leaders repeatedly normalize insults, Personal attacks can become part of the political culture surrounding them. Research on political polarization has repeatedly shown that voters increasingly evaluate people through partisan identity, making it easier to excuse behavior from their own side while condemning the same behavior from opponents. That's why the strongest standard here is incredibly simple. Criticize the conduct, not the party label. If John Ossoff crossed a line, say so. If Donald Trump crosses that same line or goes further, say that too. One shouldn't cancel out the other. And honestly, dragging Bill Clinton into the conversation doesn't make the original issue disappear. Past Democratic misconduct can absolutely be criticized, but it doesn't answer whether Trump's conduct deserves criticism today. Accountability only means something when the rules apply to everyone, including the people you support. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out Ground News in the description down below.